Good morning, everyone. Today we are going to discuss approaches of teaching, Unit 3, Part 1 from Mathematics. Disclaimer: the video content has been made available for informational and educational purpose only. Approaches of teaching. First, lesson plan. After planning for the unit, we have to concentrate on each lesson plan. Lesson plan actually is a plan of action. The teacher has to decide her work in a particular period. He has to plan his tools and materials. Lesson plan is a teacher's mental and emotional visualization of classroom activities. For successful and effective teaching, lesson plan is very essential. Lesson plan explains to be fulfilled and the teaching methods and the aids to be used. A lesson plan is a blueprint, a guide map, a creative piece of work and the chapter for classroom teaching in one period of 45 minutes duration. It is a systematic approach for the development of concept, skills, understanding, etc. Lesson plan is an experience in anticipated teaching outcome of the learner and the procedure for learning process. The vivid imagination of the classroom situation speaks of the classroom experience. For effective anticipated experience, their requests are mastery of subject matter, the material and activities, thorough knowledge of the environmental forces, previous knowledge and experiments of the learners, understanding the psychology of the mental process and the law of learning, and the understanding of teaching techniques like goals, aims, skills, methods, etc. So let's revise. For effective anticipated experience, their request or the mastery of subject matter, thorough knowledge, understanding of the psychology of the mental process, and understanding of the teaching techniques. Characteristics of an effective lessons plan. A good lesson plan should include clearly mentioned instructional objectives, include the list of teaching aids, the details about how and when to be used, include motivational techniques, include evaluation techniques, include student centered activities, based on the teaching skills, include set induction and closer shoe connection between the previous lesson and future lesson, provide sufficient scope for mixed ability grouping, anticipate people's difficult in question, encourage thought provoking and interesting in question from students, provide effective illustrations through the period, include relevant home assignments, provide opportunity to practice skills, provide enough opportunity to use new method of teaching, provide proper time allocation, provide for the individual differences, be relevant to actual situations with particular reference to the institutions, its philosophy, practices, syllabus, timetable, socio-economic cultural background of the learners. Let's revise the characteristics of an effective lesson plan. A good lesson plan should include a clearly mentioned instructional objectives, include the list of teaching aids, the details about how and when to be used, include motivational techniques, include evaluation techniques, include small student-centered activities based on the teaching skills, include set inductions and closures, show connections between the previous lesson and future lesson, provide sufficient scope for more mixed ability grouping, anticipate people's difficulty in questions, encourage thought provoking and testing in question from students, provide effective illustration throughout the period, include relevant home assignment, provide opportunity to practice skills, provide enough opportunity to use new method of teaching, provide proper time allocation, provide for individual references, be relevant to actual situations with particular reference to the institutions, its philosophy, practices, syllabus, timetable, socio-economic and cultural background of the learners. What are the basis of lesson plan? A lesson plan is based on the following theoretical assumptions: a preliminary knowledge and abilities required, the steps followed in writing lessons plan, and evaluation of the lessons plan. The preliminary knowledge and abilities. A prospective biology teacher needs an understanding of the preliminary knowledge which the lessons plan is developed. This is essential to plan the following: the identification of the teaching points or the concept, writing the specific objects, developing the learning activities, selecting appropriate teaching test strategies, identifying the relevant instructional materials, writing the test items. The preliminary knowledge and abilities. A prospective biology teacher needs an understanding of preliminary knowledge which the lessons plan in developed. This is essential to plan the following: identification of teaching points of the concept, writing specific subjects, developing the learning activities, selecting appropriate teaching strategies, identifying the relevant instructional materials, writing the test items. The importance of the lesson plan. For the construction, a lesson plan following the elements are important. A teacher should have the capacity to write the teacher objective in a general or behavioral form. A teacher should have controlling the distributions and content. Teacher should have complete knowledge about the use of teaching methods, the teaching materials, and he also should know that how these can be used effectively. A teacher should have the capacity to coordinate between teaching process in access models. Teachers should also know how to construct circumstances inspections and evaluationary questions. Teachers should know the general comprehension of the model of lesson plan. So the importance of lesson plan. Children should have teacher should have the capacity to write the teacher objective in general or the behavioral form. They should be controlling the distributions and content. They should have complete knowledge about the use of the teaching methods and teaching materials. And they have the capacity to coordinate between the teaching process and access model. And they should know how to construct circumstances of inspections and evaluationary questions. And the teacher should know general comprehension of the model of lesson plan. What are the advantages of lesson plan? The following are the advantages of the planning lesson. It helps to think about a meaningful learning experience to be provided in the classroom. It helps to identify the specific objectives related to the particular lessons. This in turn may help to determine the line of action to be provided in the classroom to help the students to learn a specific concept, skills, and values, provides an outline of content and activities to provide the opportunity to select and organize the activities that may be helpful in achieving the objectives. To eliminate the chance of trial and error in teaching, it helps to select a proper content in relation to specific objectives, serve as a creative piece of work where the teacher can utilize his knowledge, skills, and materials and experience, provide situation for physical, intellectual, and social environment to help teachers to provide opportunity for the peoples to satisfy their interest. It helps to visualize the need to be mixed ability of the peoples to develop the confidence in the science teacher to teach systematically in a planned and organized way. Let's repeat the advantages of the lesson plan. It helps to think that about a meaningful learning experience to be provided in the classroom. It helps to identify the specific objectives related to the particular lesson. This in turn may help to determine the line of action to be provided in the classroom. It helps students to learn specific concepts, skills, and values, provides an outline of content and activities, provide opportunity to select, organize the activities that may helpful in achieving the objectives. It's eliminate the chance of trial and error in teaching. It helps to select the proper content in relation to the objective. Select a creative piece of work where the teacher can, utilizing his knowledge, skills, materials, and experience, provide situation for the physical, intellectual, and social environment. It helps teachers to provide opportunity for the pupils to satisfy their interest. It helps to visualize the need and to be mixed ability of the people, develop the confidence in the science teacher to teach systematically in a planned and organized way. The types of lessons plan. The lesson plan may be categorized into three categories on the basis of learning objective, that is knowledge, appreciation, and skill. The lesson plan related to the knowledge. The knowledge comprehension, application, analysis, and synthesis objectives are achieved by this plan. The main emphasis is given on the presentation of the content. That these types of lessons are prepared in a teaching social studies. The lesson plan are related to appreciation. This type of lessons are prepared for developing attitudes, feeling, and values among students. This type is designed in teaching poetry of English, Hindi, Sanskrit, and regional languages. And the lessons planned related to the skill. This skill lessons are designed to achieve psychomotor learning objectives. It includes skills of reading, writing, and speaking. These types are designed in teaching, drawing, music, home science, agriculture, technical subjects, and crafts. In the various forms of lesson plans, Herbatium approach to the lesson planning, Bloom or evaluation approach to lesson planning, Rhythm approach to lesson planning. Herbatium approach to the lesson planning, it is an ancient, it is used in training institutions. The steps followed in the approaches are preparation, presentation, comparison, abstraction, generalization, and application. RCEM approach. The Indian educationists developed this approach. It is a modification of the above approach. It consists of three aspects, that is input, process, and output. Input, expected behavioral outcomes. They are the knowledge, comprehension, application, creativity, the process, the selection of strategies, and the tactics interaction of teachers and students. RCEM is a regional college of education, Mysore. Design of lesson plan, the input, process, and output, the knowledge objectives. Teacher objective activities are lecture, demonstration, charts, maps, explanation, question and answer methods. A student's activities listening, observing, taking notes, and interactions. Real learning outcomes, real OS, review questions, define the state described in the name list. By understanding the objectives, creativity objectives, individual work, group discussion, problem solving, analysis, synthesis of element, establishes the relationship, and the Asia test, oral test, problem solving test, and observation situations test. So, the Regional College of Education Mysore design of lesson plan. What are the inputs or instructions, expected behavior of outcomes? That is the EBOS. Knowledge objective, understanding objective, application objective, and creative objective. Knowledge, understanding, application, creativity. That is KUAC. KUAC. Knowledge, understanding, application, and creativity. These are the objectives. So, under the process, the communication strategy, learning experience, the teacher activities and student activities. Teachers related to the knowledge is a lecture, demonstration, chart, maths, explanation, question and answer, and method. Students is listening, observing, taking notes, and interactions. For understanding objectives, the discussion, problem solving questions and answer method demonstrated, and just the students has to participation group and discussion, listening, observing, and initiating. The application objective is group discussion, laboratory works, problem solving, question and answer methods. The student has to experiment use of the knowledge for his problems. The creativity objectives, individual work groups and discussion, problem solving, analyzing. The students has to analyze synthesis of elements, establish the new relationship. So output of knowledge objective is review, question, defense, describe, name list, and understanding objective, interpret, translate, explain, discriminate, problem solving, and application objective is a practical test, institutional test, essay type test, and observation, creativity objective, essay type test, oral test, problem solving test, and observation situation test. This chapter indicates three aspects: input, process, and outputs can be implemented in organizing the teaching. The input aspect consists with of teaching. It also includes entering and behaving of learners. The process aspects involve a teacher and student interactions. The teacher and student activities are determined. Output aspects deals with higher or low. The evaluation devices are specified measuring the criterion behaviors. Bloom's or evaluation approach. It's an innovative approach in the field of education. The steps are the formulation of education objectives, creative learning experience, and evaluating the change behavior. So Bloom's or evaluation approach is an innovative approach in the field of education. Steps are the formulation of the education objective, creative learning experience, evaluating the change of behavior. So it considers educations in the tripolar process. It considers education in the tripolar process. One is educational objective, change in behavior and learning process. This table indicates the different types of teaching strategies for achieving different learning objective. One is teaching knowledge, understanding, application, creativity, and learning objective is cognitive, affective, and psychomotor. The steps in lesson plan, general information. The general information regarding the subject unit, less class, estimated time date should be provided. Identification of the teaching points. The lesson carefully read. The major and sub concepts is to make the teaching and learning easily. The teaching points are noted in organization manner step by step. Writing instructional objective, general and specific instructional objective should be provided. These objectives reflect learning outcomes, so carefully thought should be given in writing instruction objective. Instructional aids use a proper teaching aids to help the biology teacher to clarify the structure, functional aspect of the topic. It helps to motivate people to learn effectively. The teaching aids should be used skillfully in the appropriate time. Instructional aids may be diagrams, specimen charts, 3D models, films, etc. So the introduction of the lesson. The introduction of the lesson prepares the students for learning. During introduction, the teacher can review or test the previous knowledge of the students, motivate the students for the learning, and introduce new knowledge. The lesson may be introduced effectively by presenting a demonstration using the teaching aids, asking thought-provoking questions, or relating a story briefly. The part is mainly concerned with the attention of the people, so the time taken for introducing the lesson should be 3 minutes. The development of the lesson. This is the body of the lesson. This is concerned with the development of the learning activities. This step is related to the content, teaching method, teaching aids, the ability of the students. Content is based on which the learning activities are learned. So the teachers has to select the teaching concepts, the organizing order. Based on this content, the learning activity should be developed. Based on the learning activities, teaching method and teaching aid should be selected for easy acquisition of the concept. The teacher has to bear in mind the age, maturity, and interest of the people to make sure of effective teaching process. Evaluation may be carried out at every stage. Recapitulation helps in recalling the lessons learned and to find out the extent to which the teaching is effective. Recapitulation may be done through questioning or written exam. Home assignment is a learner to study and acquire the acquired knowledge. The home assignments includes diagrams, written materials, collection of written materials, maintaining album, etc. Lesson plan format. These are there are 5 columns provided in the format lesson plan. The first column steps include the motivation, lesson, and development, recapitulation, and assignments. The second column specification. The instructional objectives are written in the form of the specification. Third column is the learning experience, where the details relating how the lesson taught. What is the interaction between the teacher and the people? What are the teaching aids used, and how and when the teaching aids are used, etc. Written. The fourth column is the evaluation column. Here, the question to put after teaching each and every concepts are written. The last column denotes the remark. This is for the supervisor to write down the remarks if necessary. The levels of teaching, memory, understanding, and reflective level. Next, we are moving to levels of teaching, memory, understanding, and reflective level. The teaching and learning process is closely related to each other and regarded as one single concept. In one classroom, same content is taught at different levels because it has its own structure. The learning conditions and learning objectives falls in the continuum. So, teaching the learning situations may be classified according to the place. So, in the level of teaching, memory, and understanding, and reflective level, the teaching and learning process is closely related to each other and regarded as one single concept. On the classroom, same content is taught at different levels because it has its own structure, learning conditions, and learning objectives falls on the continuum. So, teaching and learning situations may be classified according to the place where they fall on the continuum, which ranges from thoughtless to most thoughtful mode of operations. Maurice LBG has classified teaching learning process into 3 levels, which are as follows. One is the memory level, understanding level, and the reflective level. Memory level. It is a memory level of teaching in which the teaching is done to provide the textbook knowledge to students. The emphasis is more given to memorization rather than learning. It is not said to be the best level of teaching, as memorizing anything is not good, and the importance should be given to understand the concept well. This level helps in increasing the memory power. The advantages of the memory level. It is beneficial for the young students, useful for the slow learners, helpful to the children for learning a new concept, the basis of for the understanding the reflective level of teaching. So, what are the advantages of memory level? It is beneficial for the young students, useful for the slow learners, and helpful to the children for learning a new concept, and basis of understanding the reflective level of teaching. So, what are the disadvantages of memory level? Not beneficial for higher class. Dominance of the teacher, the loss of recall and retention. Interaction level is low in the classroom. The problem of classroom management. Students do not get a chance of self-learning. So, what are the disadvantages of memory level? It's not a beneficial for the higher class. The dominance of the teacher, loss of recall and retention, interaction level is low in the classroom. The problem of classroom management. The students do not get a chance of self-learning. So, what is the advantage of memory level? It's a beneficial for the young students, useful for the slow learners, helpful for the children, helpful to the children for learning a new concept, base of understanding the reflective level of teaching. Disadvantage is not beneficial for the higher class, dominance of the teacher, loss of recall and retention, interaction level is low in the classroom, problem of classroom management. Students do not get a chance of self-learning. So the memory level of teaching in which the teaching is done to provide textbook knowledge to the students, and the emphasis is more given to memorization rather than learning. It is not said to be the best level of teaching, as memorizing anything is not good and important should be given to the understanding the concept. Well, this will helps level helps in increasing the memory power. The understanding the level teaching is a more deliberate teaching method in which the students interact with the concept and, as the name implies, comprehend the content. They evaluate the concept and bring together the facts and other notions associated with them based on the students' prior awareness and comprehension levels. Teachers and students are also equally interested in the field, and in this teaching stage, teachers use debates, seminars, explanations, and other similar methods. The classroom atmosphere is welcoming and stimulating. And what are the advantages of the understanding level? Understanding level is a teaching is a more deliberate teaching method in which students interact with the concept, as the name implies, comprehend and content. They evaluate the concept and bring together the facts and other notions associated. They evaluate the concept and bring together facts and other notions associated with them based on the students' prior awareness and comprehension level. The teacher and students are also equally interested in this place, and in this teaching stage, the teachers use debates, seminars, explanations, and other similar methods. The classroom atmosphere is welcoming and stimulating. The advantages, effective learning, development of different coordination learning set the stage for entering the reflective level of teaching. Interaction level is good. What are the disadvantages of the understanding level? Ignore higher cognitive abilities, less emphasis on intrinsic motivation, no individual learning, teacher centered. Reflection levels. The interceptive levels of teaching is also known as reflective level. It's the most advanced level of teaching learning method. This is because teaching does not end until the students has grasped the idea. It goes beyond the comprehension and prepare the students to focus on what they have here or understood. This is more advanced stage in which the learners advances one step further through the concept to comprehend the concept multiple dimensions. This is the level of instruction in which the instructor encourages and stimulates students to think about and reflect on the content and the concept they have learned. So, what are the advantages of the reflective level? Thoughtful mode of operation, learner centered, development of problem solving skill, maximum flexibility, development of creativity, self motivations. So, what are the disadvantages of reflective level? Not suitable for the lower class, time consuming process, not suitable for Indian classroom, not applicable for dull students, the burden on the teachers. So reflective level is the introspective level of teaching is also known as the reflective level. This is the more advanced level of teaching learning method. This is because teaching does not end until the students have grasped the idea. It goes beyond comprehension and prepare the students to focus on what they have heard or understood. It's a more advanced stage in which the learners advances one step further through the concept to comprehend the concept of multiple dimension. This is the level of instruction in which the instructor encourages and stimulates the students to think about and reflect on the content and concepts they have learned. The advantages are thoughtful mode of operation, learner centered, development of problem solving skill, maximum flexibility, development of creativity, self motivations. Disadvantages not suitable for lower class, time consuming process, not suitable for Indian class, and not applicable for adult students in the burden on the teachers. Let's move on to the unit plan. Unit, a present tense. He defines a unit as a large block of for related subject matter and can be overviewed by the learner. A course of study can be divided into units. A unit is defined as the series of related learning experience built around one central topic. The unit develops a generalization through the learning of a related field, related facts, concepts, views, or viewpoints. Therefore, a unit is a large segment of subject matter having a common theme or idea. Unit planning it's a part of the year planning, and it is a middle ground between the course are the year planning and lessons planning. It is longer than lesson plan, but shorter than the course plan. It is longer than a lesson plan, but shorter than the course plan. There are two types of units. One is the resource units, another one is teaching unit. Resource unit is intended to be a general guide in assisting the teacher to enrich the teaching unit. It is more comprehensive than the teaching unit. It is according to the level of knowledge of the teacher. It requires pedagogical skill for presenting the resource units are developed by the curricular experts, the classroom teachers. A teaching unit is important and useful to the prospective in-service teachers. A unit plan is basically a list or a series of lesson plan designed around a specific topic, project, or content, etc. And among other reasons that applying for generally or planning in general. It is important for the teachers to design one because a great deal of learning is directly correlated to teachers' planning and preparation. How to design a unit plan? A unit plan are consistent with the state curriculum guidelines. Therefore, you should be aware of the students as well as the content of the subject matters you intend to write about in a unit. You must stick to a timeline to complete a unit. You should take some time to review that what resources are already available to you for designing your unit plans. You may unquestionably resort to your curriculum specifications and textbooks you receive. You should know about your students' needs and interest, but a diagnosis or survey, as well as have pedagogical resources available before you begin the planning the lesson you choose. Once you review what resources you can resort to, you should create a diversity of assessment tool to evaluate learning because you should ensure the students meet the objective through evaluation, both formative and summative. After considering your students' needs and timeline, select what may fit their learning style and use the lessons and activities that motivate your curiosity and interest. You can follow a standard procedure to prepare a unit. The procedure may begin with the objective but also include the competencies, address materials, lessons, assessment resources. So designing a unit plan, you must stick a timeline to complete a unit. You should take some time to review. You should know about your students' needs and interests. Once you review what resources resort to, you should create a diversity of assessment tools. After considering your students' needs and time, select fit the learning style and uses lessons and activities. You can follow a standard procedures to prepare a unit. The procedures may begin with objectives, but also include the competencies, address materials, lessons, assessment resources. The components in a unit plan: unit title and subject area, the theme of your unit and the subject you are teaching, and the communicative competence components briefly is the ones covered in this unit plan. Classroom levels, the classroom in which the subject is taught and the level according to the curriculum guidelines. Unit rational, your rational is your overall justification for the unit, and basically what you will have to do is to provide a paragraph explanation to describe the value of the unit, what is presented, the way the unit is important, how it will benefit the students, where it will fit in the curriculum. This is prepared by individual teachers based on the students, schools, community, on curricular and instructional objective and needs. What are the goals? They are also called the long-term objectives and describe the purpose or major concepts that will be taught. It is expected that from the each goal, several specific objectives will be pulled out. The goals will cover the entire unit, whether it is in lesson 3 or 8. Objectives: these come from the goals and represent the content area of the skill that would be included on all the lessons planned for the unit. They are more specific than the goals. Objective must be measurable. The short-term or immediate objectives. Content: identify and organize the topic that are included in the unit. Learning activities: the main method activities for the teaching each goal. While not as detailed as the instructional procedures in a lessons plan, they should contain all the key informations. Example: display a power unit presentation. Introduce the syntax for writing a program. List of resources. All sources, consultant preparation, the unit should be listed. Remember, multiple sources are expected. List of materials. List all the materials needed to teach the unit that are not readily available to the teachers every day. Assessment. Identify the way the students' learning will be measured as well as how students will receive feedback, and list the strategies and instrument you will use. Remember, the way you measure the students' learning will depend on what you want them to learn, objectives and learning it is involved. Explanation of how the unit plan addresses a particular student's profile. It demonstrates how your plan addresses the interest and need of your students. You may resort to the results you got from the session for diagnostic test at the beginning of the school year, because that may have provided you with some information on your learner strength and weakness. The example of unit planning is given below. On the topic, the fundamentals of internet computing objectives. Objectives must be written clearly, explained. For an example, if we are going to teach the unit fundamental of the internet computing, we can consider the objectives as follows. Like on successful completion, this unit students should be able to understand the fundamental principle of computer system and internet, design the websites using the simple client programming, understand the principle of user interface design and the human computer interfaces. Learning experience. This module provide an introduction to the key concept of internet computing, starting with the fundamentals of the computer system and the internet students the progress to learn how to design the website, how to utilize the simple client-side programming. Issues related to user interface design and human computer interfacing, that is HCA, are covered. A broader issues related to the use of internet for blogging and social network are discussed. The practical elements of the module allow students to develop skills necessary for the website design using a simple client-side programming. Methods and materials. Methods: inductive, deductive, analytic, synthetic, and problem solving. Techniques: drilling, questioning, assignments. Material: CI, chart, model, chart, real objectives. Evaluation: the formal written examination, continuous assessment. Feedback: the following can be given: effective computer package, reteach, drilling, remedial teaching. Designing a unit plan. A unit plan is detailed outline for a series of interrelated lessons on the selected topics of the study, which last for 2 to 4 weeks. The unit plan is an organized instructional material which teachers develop and select from the available sources to impact the instructions. Each unit is analyzed and the general instructional objectives are stated. Each general instructional objective is further analyzed and stated as specific. Designing a unit plan. A unit plan is detailed outline for the series of interrelated lessons on a selected topic of study which lasted for 2 to 4 weeks. The unit plan is an organized instructional material which teachers develop and select from the available sources to impact the instructions. Each unit is analyzed and the general instructional objectives are stated. Each general instructional objective is further analyzed and stated as specific instructional objective in terms of terminal behavior of the learner. Then the teaching the points are prepared, the teaching methods are identified, teaching aids are selected, method of evaluating are decided, resource materials for the further learning like references, books, films, film strips, etc. are listed. A time needed for each unit is estimated and allocated. So the unit plan consists the following: it says why, what, how, and evidence of the achievement evaluations, like why the aspect deciding and stating the instruction objective, what aspect analysis of the unit, how the aspect method and learning experience, evidence for achievement evaluations. So what are the advantages of unit plan? And a unit plan should break up a lengthy unit into a smaller sub-unit so that people can easily grasp the ideas without losing the content. A teacher can present a lesson principles and follow a systematic teaching. It helps a teacher to plan a variety of learning experiences, keeping in mind the individual differences, the nature of the content, and objectives to be achieved. The people can see various facts, principles, and can be able to relate them with the unit. Unit planning has a proper provisions for the diagnosis of the learning difficulties of the students and subsequent remedial instructions. Unit planning paves the way for the proper and appropriate daily lesson planning. Year plan in the Let's start with the year planning. A course of study that can be divided into units. A unit is defined as a series of related learning experience built around one central topic. A unit develops a generalization through learning of related fields, concepts, and views and viewpoints. Therefore, a unit is a large segment of subject matter having a common theme or idea. Lesson plan should give clear indication what students are going to do for learning and what they expect to grasp in classroom during the process of teaching. A planning begins with the goal of teaching learning situations carried through a planned means of achieving these goals and ends. The plans evaluating the efforts of all persons involved. So the plan should be made in terms of the goals to be achieved. Therefore, the stages in the planning should be the course planning, which could determine the general objectives, specific objectives. Accordingly, select the course to be taught. Organization of the selected materials into meaningful segments of activities and experience. Plan the daily work around the device known as lesson plan. In this lesson, you are exposed to the various components of the lesson plan in computer science. An annual year plan or year plan is intended to provide teachers and school administration with an overview of the curriculum guidelines at a glance. Therefore, it can be definitely help educators to stay on track each month. For instance, in the meeting, the curriculum goals that have been set up for the school year planning is done by a teacher at the beginning of the year and of the entire course. Design and Designing the annual teaching plan. The following are only suggestion to the layout of your annual plan, and therefore you may feel free to adapt or modify or even improve any format resulting from them to fit your specific needs and the needs of your group of learners. Section 1. Start by labeling your plan, providing the general information about the subjects you are designing the plan for, the school name, school year, target year you will be teaching the first sections. And the section 2, take your curriculum guidelines to look at the objectives per school year that have been proposed for each components of the programming components in C. The objectives: on successful completion of this course, the students should be able to understand the basics of C language, use the conditional statements and loops, write the programs using the arrays, use the functions for writing the programs, use the pointers for writing programs, use the skill for file processing. Section 3 is a model annual plan. Insert a blank table of your template in a word processing document that lists the month that corresponds to the present school year in the first column. Section 4 is methodological strategies, and Section 5 is resources and equipment. Section 6 is evaluation. So, Section 1 is like a labeling. Section 2 is curriculum guidelines and objectives. Section 3 is a model annual plan. And the Section 4 is methodological strategies. And Section 5 is resource and equipments. And the Section 6 is evaluations. So let's start with the Section 4, the methodological strategies. Read the curriculum specifications you have been provided with and summarize the information on the methodological strategies as well as the genres and the text types that have been proposed as a tool for developing each programming skill with your corresponding group of learners. Unquestionably, you may feel free to propose and write down any other methodological strategy you consider pertinent by keeping in mind they should reflect the basic principles of computer programming. Make a real procedure of programming, provide the opportunities for the learners to experiment and try out what they know. Be tolerant of learners' errors as they indicate that the learner is building up his or her programming competence. Provide opportunities for the learners to develop both accuracy and fluency. They link the different skills such as analyzing problems, preparing the flowchart, writing the algorithms, writing programs, debugging the programs, and executing the programs together since the situations they usually occur in real situations. Let the students induce or discover the programming rules. A section 5 is a resource and equipment. Briefly list the didactic resources that are available at your institutions or you have made or provided and which you consider are appropriate to facilitate the students' learning process. Section 6 Evaluation. Take the curriculum guidelines document, carefully look at the assessment indicators per skill for your target group. Then describe briefly the type of evaluation you will carry out with your students. According to the state regulations and when it will be done at the beginning of the middle or end of the first, second term school year, as well as the type of assessments you will be carrying out and the type of assessment activities or instruments you will use. The characteristics of the year plan, the number of units to be covered as per the syllabus during the academic year, the number of periods needed to cover each units, and the number of working days per term, number of days allotted for a project, or number of holidays for the academic year. These are the characteristics of the year plan. The advantages are the year planning helps the teachers in planning the entire course for the whole of the academic year. It keeps the teachers on the right track. It enables the teacher to cover the syllabus within the allotted time. Planning saves waste time and energy. It helps the teachers in orderly systematic teaching. It gives a lot of self-confidence to the teacher as he is sure of what is expected of her during each period or week or month or term. It will help to carry out all the curricular and co-curricular activities in time without haste and anxiety. It helps in allotting time for the labs, projects, revisions, tests, and examinations. The preparation of the model lesson plan, the instructional general objective for the computer science teaching, the specific objectives under the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor domains are clubbed into 3, 2, and 1 respectively for the purpose of formatting general instructional objectives for the science teaching. These are as follows: knowledge, understanding, and applications. are from the cognitive domain, interests and attitudes are from the affective domain, and the skills are from the psychometric domain. By now, you are familiar with these terms. Let us know that discuss these objectives as they are used for the instructional purpose along with the expected change in the behavior of learners. Knowledge, as you know, is the lowest level of cognitive ability. Therefore, the first objective of the teaching science is related to acquisition of knowledge by the students. It states the students will acquire the knowledge of facts, concept, principle, processing techniques. The behavior specification to demonstrate the achievement of this objective is that people will be able to recall the terms, facts, concept, principles, process, etc. Recognize the facts, terms, concept, principles, and process. You know that words like recall, recognize are the action words which represent the behavior of individuals. This overt behavior can be observed and measured by the teacher as well as by an evaluator or any observer. Understanding the second objective of the science teaching is related to the next higher cognitive ability, that is comprehension or understanding. It states to develop the ability to understand the facts, concepts, principles, theories, and techniques, etc. Behavior specifications of the objective are that people illustrate the terms, facts, concept, principle, etc. by citing examples, express the same fact or concept in different ways by way of explanations, locate errors in known situations and correct them, and compare and contrast between the related terms and the concept, classify the objects, facts, or any informations, discriminate between allied substance or concept, identify the relationship between the various facts and concept, extrapolate for known information, translate the symbolic statement into verbal statement, vice versa, interpret data, chart, graphs, etc., detect the errors in faculty statements, verify facts, and solve the numerical problems. Applications. The essence of teaching or learning, as you know, is the application of knowledge. You perform various activities or solve many problems in our daily life. You are able to do this only because you have the knowledge and understanding of the things around yourself. The third objective aims at using knowledge in new situations. It states to develop the ability to apply knowledge of concepts and principles of science in new or unfamiliar situations. Behavior specification of the objectives are that the people will analyze situations and problems, formulate hypotheses on the basis of observations, select appropriate methods and materials for testing the hypothesis, giving reasons are happening, draw inference, conclusions, generalizations, predict results are happening on the basis of known facts. As skills, we know that science learning is a science doing for learning science. Various skills are required for performing activities and acquiring knowledge. Also, the type of knowledge acquired by the individual depends upon the process applied for acquiring it. The fourth objective of the teaching science states that to develop observational and experimental, manipulative, and drawing skills, cognitive behavioral terms for stating specific learning and outcomes. The objective of the teaching science have been changing through time and time. The rapid progress of science and technology in recent years has changed the objectives of the science in schools, just from mere knowledge of the facts were shifted to the development of concepts, abilities, skills, appreciation, etc. Hence, the achievement of all these aims should be the challenge of the science teacher. How to design a lesson plan. Model lessons for the mathematics, name of the student, teacher, subject, mathematics, class, section, unit, name of the school, topic, instructional objectives, acquire the knowledge of the understand, applies the scientific knowledge, develop the skills, develop the interest, develop the attitude, appreciations, specifications. Students should recall, recognize, differentiate science examples and enjoy instructional resources require previous knowledge of the learners like content or concepts, specification of behavior, objective learning experience and evaluations, significance of the student teachers, nature of supervisions, and lesson the plan for mathematics, name the students teachers, mathematics class sections, menstruation. So the name of the school, topic surface area and the volume of the cube, instructional objective the people, identify the variables, recall the polynomials, explains the relation with the polynomials and binomials, computes the problems of binomials, formulate the problems on their own. Instructional resources. The formula chart for polynomials. Previous knowledge. The teacher asks the question below question to check the previous knowledge of the students, like considering the following algebraic expression 3x squared, 3x plus 2x squared, so y. How many variables are there in these algebraic expressions? How do you find the value of the polynomial for some assigned value of the variables? So the content or concepts are variables, polynomials, binomials, trinomials. Find out the binomial and trinomials and specifications of the behavioral subjects defines, discuss, explain, writes, and read, identify, substitute, calculus, explain, read, and identify learning The experience of teacher learner activities. The teacher defines the variables and polynomials. Student discuss about the variables and polynomials, binomial and trinomial. Teachers explain similar expressions. The two terms is called binomial. The one having the three terms is called trinomial. Evaluation define variables and polynomials. Write the two example of equation binomials and trinomials. Identify the value of the x given the problem. Identify the value of x and call it the px value. These are all the table. The cons with the content concept are specifications of behavioral objective learning experience and teaching learning evaluations. A variable and algebraic expressions which consist of one or more terms such as variables. It defines teacher define the variables and polynomials define and polynomials. Variables in the terms are raised to a positive integral power is called polynomial. Similar expression of the two terms is called a binomial. The one having three terms is called trinomial. And find out the binomial trinomials, explain and write. So the signature of the student teacher, signature of the supervisor at the end. The model lesson plan is an example of 20 minutes, and this can be continued or written for 45 minutes.